Good afternoon, and welcome to the Encompass Solutions and ITC Document Management Tools webinar. This webinar will focus on the DocStar Document Management Solution, its functionality, and the integration with Epicor, along with demonstrations of how these tools work together in the hands of the user. Attendees are in listen-only mode, meaning you are muted by default. I invite you to submit any questions you may have in chat. The complete list of questions and answers will be addressed at the end of the webinar, time provided. If not, a complete list of questions and answers will be provided to you by email following the conclusion of the webinar. A link to the recorded webinar will also be provided by email once the recording is made available. Now I'd like to introduce you to our panelists. Our first presenter, Mike Shaw, is a Tennessee-based business owner who has been providing paperless solutions for small and mid-market organizations for over 17 years. His experience encapsulates all matter of paperless work process improvement and business process automation. With particularly in-depth knowledge of the applications and functionality surrounding DocStar, Mike has emerged as an authority on document management using the platform. He places special emphasis on accounting processes, compliance management, and business operations. Our second presenter, Jason Claggett, is the Managed Services Manager for Encompass Solutions and is considered one of the industry experts when it comes to the technical aspects of Epicor software. He has experience with legacy versions of the Epicor product, Epicor's Advanced Print Management Document Solution, Epicor's new Advanced Print and Routing, and DocStar ECM. Now, Mike, if you're ready, I'll hand things off to you.
Great, I appreciate that. Good afternoon, everyone. I appreciate you coming on board here to see our solutions and what we can provide. All right, so let me start there. Just the system itself, DocStar has been doing document management solutions for over 22 years, and we've been in New York for the headquarters. And since we've been acquired by Epicor, and the solution being the DocStar Workflow Enterprise Content Management Solution, we've had a system that is very scalable and affordable for all industries that are out there. So the system does have two flavors, and we have an on-premise solution that can be installed on your servers and systems and managed, and then a cloud solution that is already hosted at the corporate site and is SAS 70 compliant, HIPAA compliant, PCI compliant, and all the regulations that you would need for compliancy. Really, the systems and features on both solutions are the same. There are no differences in features and functionality of the system and integration to your Epicor systems. And so what you'll see today is that the system can handle all lines and departments within the company. And so what we see the DocStar system do is handling HR records, accounts payable, accounts receivable, operational documentation, service orders and sales contracts, and any of the detailed quality control documentation and engineering drawings. The system itself has multiple capabilities in terms of having documents come into the system. They can come in from a multi-function copier, a direct scanner that's on your desk, the fax capability of monitoring a current fax machine that's out there, or a electronic fax capability to come in. And then, of course, anything that's already printed, and email monitoring, so that if you have a document come into a specific email, such as invoices at itcimaging.com, we can monitor that email and bring in that invoice into the system and route it to the appropriate group of people that need to attend to that document and process it. The system has integration also to any of the Microsoft Office platforms. So we have built-in plug-in buttons within the Microsoft Word, Excel, and Outlook to easily get documents into the system. The system has several other functionalities. What we'll show you in the demonstration is a basic overview of the system, and then dive into some of the specifics of integrations with the Epicor line. It does have retentions capability built into the system. It does have case management built into the system, and forms capability if you wanted to create your own electronic forms and have electronic signature internally or externally using DocuSign as our external signing solution. Here is an example of an accounts payable workflow in detail. That documents can come in by a scanner, by email, or just by importing a document or file print the document directly to the system to start the process of processing the invoice into the system. It can then automatically do a validation with an AP clerk that then can automatically validate the purchase order. And if the purchase order is correct and it has a three-way matching capability, so that if it's correct, it can move directly on to an approval process. It can be sent to a CFO or somebody else if you'd like to, and then sent to the system itself. If it doesn't match a PO, it can come down to missing PO, or maybe the amounts on the PO mismatch, and maybe the shipping is off, or the amounts on the PO and the invoice do not match. It can automatically then route it to the appropriate clerks that need to then attend to those documents and fix the issue. From the AP standpoint, I'll talk mainly about AP on our side, but of course HR records are another big part of scanning records into the system and retrieving those documents by multiple indexes and linking documents to the line of business. The streamlining of the AP is really because of our integration with the Epicor ERP 10. We do have email alerts and approval stamps that can streamline the entire process within your organization. The screenshots here that you'll see, we will provide you when Jason gets going showing his part, that he will show you live some of the integration pieces and printing of the documents from reports, information that's in Epicor directly to the DocStar system for archival and storage of the information. One other thing that our company does is we have a service bureau that we scan records for companies, and we do a lot of backfiling of old records. So if companies have a lot of boxes and 10, 20 boxes of records that need to be scanned, we can provide the service of scanning those old records and putting them into the system for you to get caught up if you need to. Now I'm going to jump over to the actual product itself in terms of the DocStar. It's, again, a web-based program. You can use any browser that you prefer. So Google, Firefox, Internet Explorer, any of the browsers that you prefer to open up and log in. I'm going to go ahead and log off my account real quick, but here is the login screen that you'd be presented. And we have what's called a single sign-on, which is Active Directory integration. And so you can integrate to your Active Directory, and we can import all your usernames, passwords, and groups. So you don't have to have another username and password to enter in and actually log in. Now, on my demo unit, I'm going to go ahead and log in with a specific user account and then process with that account. So I'm going to log in with my Mike S account. And you'll then be presented to the landing page of the document management system. And from the left-hand side, you'll see inboxes. Inboxes are where documents come into your system from a copier. So if you scan from a copier or you have people saving files to a folder on a network, we can then monitor that folder, and documents then can come into the system and start a workflow process and be routed to that person that needs to take care of it. Folders in the system are documents when they've been filed and processed and indexed into the system. The documents are then placed into that folder for retrieval capabilities. The system can automatically place them into folders and create folders on the fly, part of a workflow process. It can also put documents into multiple folders with using the one document, so you don't have to scan it twice and put it into two folders. You scan it once and you reference it many. Then you have alerts, workflow, and approvals, and recent documents. If you're part of alerts, there could be specific documents in the system that you need to be alerted to take care of or handle something. Then you can get an alert of that type of document that came into the system. Workflow and approvals are for more of when you're routing documents for approvals and sent to a specific person. Maybe one person needs the data, enter some information, and then send it to a person for approval. And it can then route it to the specific person for approval and data enter of additional information that may be needed. From the top menu bar is our home page, which is what we're looking at right now. And then our retrieve tab, our capture tab to scan new documents or import manual documents, our workflow queue in terms of documents that are in my workflow, reports capability in regards to if you want to run reports or have reports module, you can run reports on any documents in the system that are in people's workflow to see productivity and see where your documents are within our workflow process. Forms capability and creating any electronic form, and packages, which is our case management side, to doing an electronic checklist of documents that you have coming in. A good example of this is documents that you have in HR departments. When you have a new hire, you want to have their resume, then you want to have their application, then you want to have their driver's license, and then after you have their I-9 forms or WIRS forms filled out, then you want to send them over to payroll, which we put under the payroll system. The system can automatically keep track for compliancy that all those documentation has come in and has been put into the system. So instead of me having an paper checklist to check off, it creates an electronic checklist for you that lets you know that everything is staying compliant. Then the admin panel for rights within the system and database information. And then the quick search on the top right side. So if I wanted to search for a specific document, I can say, look for the word Dell, and maybe I'm looking for a Dell invoice, and I select OK. The system will automatically go out and retrieve the documents in the system that have Dell in it. And as you can see, the first document has the name Call Summary Mike and has no Dell in the custom fields. Well, what it's doing is it's finding the document, and inside this PDF document is the word Dell somewhere on the page. So it has OCR capability, which is optical character recognition, and you can search for any text on the page. And so on the right-hand side here, you can see that it's a thumbnail of the document. If I want to view the document fully, I can just double-click the document and view the data that the document has been indexed by, what folder the document is in, what the document versioning is, and the history audit trail of a document, when the document came in, when it was processed, if you printed it, faxed it, emailed it. In the middle section, you can now see that there's the document itself, plus several thumbnails over to the right-hand side. And if I want to go to one of the thumbnails, I can click on it, and I can scroll my mouse to go back to a document. You can put sticky notes, annotations on a document. You can also redact a section on the page. And this is all done through our annotation toolbar, which is at the top of the toolbar above the document. You can rotate the pages if they did not come in correctly off of the copier. And so you can put a sticky note, highlight, redact the document. At any time when you have this document up, you can go to the Actions tab and you can email a document out, or you can print the document. Of course, there's a lot of other features in the system that we have, moving pages around, modifying security, adding records, categories to a document, setting due dates. And so I just will, tell you a little bit about it and move on. The email is very nice that you can create and send an email directly from the system. You can also create a hyperlink to the document. And so I could take this encrypted document and send it out to you and put a password with this document. And it becomes your own Dropbox on your document, so that you could share a document with me, or I could share a document with you. And then when you get the link, you click on it, enter the password, and it will download the document for you. From the Capture tab, now if you want to bring documents into the system, you can bring them in by the copier, and the copier could scan it and directly bring it into the system. I can direct scan with the scanner on my desk. I can manually go to the import and grab a file that I want to import. And I can do a file print. So if I have a document up, I can just go to file print and print the document to the system. And then also our integration with Microsoft Word and Excel and Outlook you'll have within the system itself is the DocStar tab on the top menu, and you can automatically save a document directly to the system. It does have check-in and check-out versioning capability, so if you do check in and save a Word document to the system, it'll keep it in its native file format, which is the Word document, and then you can always check the document out later, and then you always have revision 1, revision 2, revision 3, revision 3.1, and so it keeps track of that in the system for you. From the system itself, if I'm back to the import capabilities, if I want to go ahead and browse out to my computer here and just grab an example file, and I have several example files on my D drive here, I'm just going to go ahead and grab a fake attorney memo, for example, and it's going into my content type called miscellaneous. If this was an AP invoice, if this is a construction or contracts, I would select that type of document that I'm importing, and it would then take its workflow process and route it to the specific people that need to have it, or it may just pop right up and ask me to name it and file it to the system. And so I'll just go ahead and hit submit. I can go and grab multiple documents, so it can then put 10 or 15 documents down bottom, and it will automatically then allow me to upload all those documents and process those documents. So once I've processed or uploaded the documents, I can go back and process them, or I could have selected the view auto right here, and it would automatically pop up the document for me and allow me to name it and file it. The document goes to my workflow, so if I click my workflow button here, you'll see that that's the first document in my queue. If I double click the document, it will open up. And then you will see in my workflow panel here that it asks me to enter the specific project number and name. So it asks me specifically for some information, and I would enter that project number and then select submit. And then the system would route the document, or if it has additional questions, it would ask me to enter the additional questions. So I have, okay, now enter a date. I can have this customized to bringing up a calendar automatically on the system, or I can manually type that in and then hit enter or hit submit. So now the document gets processed and filed to the system and archived. And then the system will automatically OCR it, and it will be full text searchable within the next 30 seconds or so. So now if I go back to my retrieve tab and I go back to clear, I can go back to my quick search window. I can type in, hey, I'm looking for a T5400 on an invoice. I'm looking for a product. If I type that in and then see the document came up, you can see that I typed in T5400 and none of the indexes over here have T5400, but on the page itself has T5400 desktop workstation. So you can see that the OCR is searching throughout the document for the information. So I could have searched for the salesperson, the PO number, the ship date, the amounts on the actual invoice. So anything that's text on the page is full text searchable as long as you're OCRing the documents going into the system. From the workflow standpoint, if I'm looking at documents in my workflow, you can see all the documents in my workflow, and you can see what step each document is in. So you can see that it's at data enter, it's at title entry, it's at exceptions folder, it's been added to an inbox. And you can see over to the right, if any of them are part of an approval process, you'll see that if it's been approved or if it's been denied. And if I double click on that document to open it, you'll see the document and you'll see the approved stamp, the date, the time, and the comment that the person put on the document. Then for reports, you'll have basically the capability to generate and create any custom reports and run reports in the system on documents in the system. I can show that here a little bit later since we want to get through this in a timely fashion. Forms capability, any form that you want to create, you can create in the system. And so then you can make these forms public accessible, and you can send these out to somebody. And you can also use the reCAPTCHA so that you can make sure that somebody is filling it out and it's not an automated process. You can set an expiration date and then basically send this out to somebody and generate the link down here that is an encrypted link to that document form to fill out that form. In packages, you have the packages where documents can come in, and I just have currently in this system a mortgage package. And so a mortgage company basically uses this, or a title company uses it, that they need to have all of their set documents such as the mortgage application, truth in lending, home inspection, appraisal, and deed. And they have to have all these documents come in before they can move them to the next stage of selling the house. And so this is just an example of how you can set up multiple sections of the packages. And in the admin panel, you have username, password, security groups, and custom stamps that you can create in your toolbar. What everybody really likes about the system in terms of the workflow designer is that you can build your own workflows yourself. And so here is the workflow designer. So if I wanted to create a basic workflow of a document, I can say, let's create a basic default workflow that just says enter information and file it. Or I can create an advanced workflow that says, okay, enter the vendor, enter the invoice number, the date, file it, then go to the first person for approval. And then after the first person's approval, if it's over 1,000, send to a second person. If it's under 1,000, send it right to the AP department for automatic processing into the system. So workflows are very customizable and easy to drag and drop and add steps to the system, and you'd be trained on how to do some of these capabilities. And so that's the basic functionality of the system. And now I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Jason so that he can go ahead and show you the particulars and the specifics integrated to the Epicor 10 solution.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mike. That was very informative. And if you guys would like more information about that, we can arrange a little easier demo for you and a little more discovery on that. So I'm sure Sean will have more information at the end of the broadcast here. So now I want to talk a little bit about the Epicor integration pieces and how it fits and how DocStar and the advanced print routing all kind of works all in one tandem thing. So as many of you may or may not have the APM system that was by Altec. Some of you have it, some of you don't have it. Some of you may have heard of it, but I want to kind of touch a little bit on that. So Altec and Epicor, they're kind of phasing that out, and in the 2017 when Epicor purchased DocStar, they made a commitment to integrate that a little tighter into Epicor. So I want to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to show some demos, and hopefully we'll have some time for some question and answers, and I'll follow it up with kind of where your options are. So as I mentioned, in the Epicor integration piece, it's going to be a full integration starting with 10.1.600 and above. But DocStar is available if you're running something older than 10.1.600. So while it's not integrated, you can still purchase the DocStar through Epicor and have a lot of the functionality that Mike is talking about. You are able to view DocStar attachments from within Epicor. So how that works is using the paperclip function, which I'll show you. You can view the documents within Epicor. Now, I put an asterisk there because a lot of places you can put the documents there and you'll be able to view them. But in order to actually go into DocStar and review the documents inside of DocStar and do a lot of the features that Mike was talking about, you do have to have a valid license for that. As we mentioned in the first portion of the webinar, it does work in tandem with the advanced print routing, which is one of Epicor's new modules introduced in the early version of 10.1.400. And so this is the future. So this is what Epicor is designing their next 5 to 10 years of software on, and take in the full integration within the Epicor and DocStar. I think it's a great solution from what I've seen of it, and according in working with Mike, it's really good solution. So now what I want to show you is some of the integration pieces and a demo. The first two demos are going to focus on just putting documents inside of Epicor and having them stored within DocStar. And the easy way to do this is the terms and conditions for a customer, and we're going to attach that to the customer record, and we'll upload that to DocStar. The second one is going to focus on an actual sales order, and we're going to add it to a customer PO. So they sent in a PO to you, and we'll attach that to an order, and it will also upload to DocStar. This does not route anything out of the organization at this point. We're just document storing and archiving at this point. So let me turn this over to my demo system, and we'll go through that. All right, so the first one we'll do is we're going to upload a terms and conditions, and we're going to use our customer Dalton, which many of you may have probably used this one. So Dalton has a specific agreement with us that is just for this year. So what we're going to do is we're going to attach it using the paperclip, and we're going to select one of our sample documents here. And this is all part of the integration piece with 10.1.600. And you get to choose your document types. So we're going to choose document terms and conditions. We're going to browse it out. We'll grab our file, and we'll say Dalton terms and conditions. Oops. And we're going to give this a title. And we're going to put it to published. And we're going to say OK. Now what that's going to do is immediately as soon as I click OK, it's going to be out in our DocStar instance. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that. And I'm going to search just like Mike had shown us. I'm going to just put in Dalton. And there's our terms and conditions just like that, and a date and timestamp. So that quick, your document has been attached to the record and uploaded to DocStar for retrieval. Okay, so the next one we're going to show you is attaching a PO to an order. And for that one, I'm going to use an order for Dalton to tie this all together. And they've ordered some parts and they've sent us a PO. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down here to the order, and we're going to use our paperclip. And again, we're going to select a new document. But this time it's going to be a sales order, or excuse me, a PO, customer PO. And we're going to browse out and find our Dalton PO number. And again, we're going to give it a title. Oops. And we're going to click OK. Again, as soon as we click OK, it's going to save it to the record, but it's also going to put it out in the DocStar repository. And so I'll just show that real quick. And there's our PO, date and timestamp. So everything is right there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to tie it all together, and I'll switch back over here to my presentation and give you a walkthrough of that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take and use the advanced print routing feature within DocStar, and we're going to manually print the sales order, and it's going to upload the sales order to DocStar, but it's going to use the APR to upload that. So instead of attaching it, now we're just going to use the APR function and upload that. The last demo we're going to do is we're going to manually print the sales order using the advanced print routing, and we're going to take the terms and conditions from our Dalton customer record, and we're also going to take our customer PO from the 5371 sales order, and we're going to email them out to myself. But this could easily be a customer that has this requirements. And so I'll show you that right now. Okay, so the first example we're going to do is we're just going to easily print this sales order acknowledgement using our route upload to DocStar. And as soon as I click on the generate now, it's going to take that, it's going to upload to DocStar, and it will also attach it to our customer record here. So here's the sales order attached to the sales record. And if I do a search on it, there's our sales order. And notice the Dalton PO also comes in because it's part of that functionality there. So then I'm going to go back to my sales order. And this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose a different report style. And I'm going to route the attachments out to my email. So hopefully everything will go right and I'll get an email in my inbox here in a few minutes. And while we're waiting for that, we will take a look at one other thing that I have prepared. And go back over here. And there's the document acknowledgement that just came through. I'll bring this up and put it on the screen here. So you can see, here's your order, and this is all customizable. So it's to me because it's my email address in there, but it has the sales order number, it has acknowledgement, has the actual sales order acknowledgement, it has the current terms and conditions, and it has the PO that the customer sent in. So that way I have all the information sent to me as the customer. I can customize this message down here to be whatever. I just put in something generic for our demo. But that's a very simple functionality of it. And you can do this with any outside document, PO or sales order quote, invoices, things like that. Anything you can print from the Epicor system, you can use through the advanced print routing module. All right, so our last demonstration, I'm going to automate all this using a business routing logic, and some of you may or may not be familiar with this, and it's okay if you're not. We can help you out there as well. But the idea here is we're going to click the little checkbox, the auto print ready, and what it's going to do is it's going to trigger a BPM. It's going to also engage an auto print rule, and then it's going to send it out in an email, all with one click. So let me try that real quick, and we'll come back, and I have some other stuff we need to show you. So this is the button right here we're going to show or click on. As soon as I click it, and I click save, that's going to fire off the process. And while we're waiting for that to come in, we'll go ahead and move on. So let's talk a little bit about the support for the current document system, the Altec or APM. And legacy versions, they're going to continue to be supported. So anything previous to 10.1, 400, it will continue to be supported by Epicor support. You can request new seats and licenses, but no new modules. So if you have an Altec APM solution, you can get new seats, but you can't get new Altec modules, things like that. If you're upgrading, we encourage you to migrate to the DocStar solution along with the APR. As I mentioned, that it's integrated with 10.1, 600 and above. So those that are considering upgrading should really think about including the DocStar into those plans. 10.1, 600, will be supported until the end of October. So October 31st, 2018, the DocLink Altec support will be going away. If you're a new customer or a customer who is just looking into a document management solution with Epicor, you're going to be quoted the APR and DocStar solution. So what are your options? If you're an APM user, if you want to just do the advanced print routing, you get the routing outside. You get no document storage. So if you have currently just APM standard and you're just routing out invoices or sales or acknowledgments today, but you're not storing it in the document management system that's Altec has, you just need the advanced print routing function to do that today. If you're an APM Plus, you will need the APR, the document management, and the DocStar solution. And the document management solution here is just the Epicor document attachment feature, the little paperclip that we demonstrated. Existing documents, if you have an APM Plus in your facility and you have years of scanned documents that you've been dutifully uploading and scanning and indexing into DocLink, there is a migration path for that. That is a separate project and will have to be coordinated through Epicor. I put a note in here about planning your upgrades accordingly. So like I mentioned earlier, if you are in the process or thinking about upgrading in the near future, you want to make sure you take into account the APM or APM Plus design into that. A lot of times we get called in after the fact, and your customer might be on 10.2 and they're looking at migrating their APM, and there's kind of an afterthought. The good news is you can still use your APM during the migration portion of that, so you can still use it to send out your documents and things like that. But we definitely should consider that as a migration strategy. One last thing I put in here is, if you have any questions about the DocStar or the Altec modules, or what's there, you can always talk to your account manager for current pricing and availability and any incentives that might be there. So next I'm going to talk about a few common questions that are available or that come up from time to time. And some of these we've covered during the discussion, some of them may be new. But what version is the DocStar integrated in? 10.1600. The Altec support is good until 10.1600. It's going to be going out on October 31st of this year. How long is Altec supported for 10.1500? There is no end date at this point. If you're thinking about upgrading, which solution should we consider? DocStar and APR. And if you have APM today and you just need to route documents, you will want to use the APR solution. And if you have the APM Plus, what are the equivalent modules that you'll need? We have APR, the document management, and the DocStar. And is there a way to get your documents migrated to Altec? And what are the maintenance and support costs to migrate to DocStar? We want you to talk to your Epicor CAM. We can help facilitate that at Encompass, but ultimately your account manager will have more information for you and availability. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions and answer, and I'll turn it back over to Sean.
Excellent. Thank you, Jason. I appreciate it. Well, I don't see any questions in the chat right now. So often it happens that these things come up later. And so I will be happy to put up Jason and Mike's contact information. If anyone has any questions, they can be contacted directly at these phone numbers and these email addresses. And I'd like to thank you again for presenting us with this informative and useful webinar session. I hope every one of our attendees got something out of it. Again, any questions that are fielded my way or Mike or Jason's way will be added to an email list for all the attendees to enjoy. And the recording of this webinar will be provided by email once it has been uploaded to the cloud. And with that, I will say this webinar has reached a successful conclusion. Thanks, everyone.